for your 4th of July entertainment. Wow, that was just great. Choreography by Donia Oxford, by the way. Yes? She's for hire. No, but what is that line? To work only for hire.
If my only desire is my soul for hire, that won't make me whole.
What a great lyric. If my only desire is my soul for hire, that won't make me whole. How many people here today feel at times that you're stuck in a work for hire situation? Right? It's good for the hands. The rest of you, you're like, I'm not answering that. So in her lyrics, she says, if I accept who I am, that's what makes me free. And I love that she says, love only. If I love only, that's what makes me free. And that's actually the absolute truth. Because as Mother Teresa said, if you are truly loving, you can't be doing anything else. So if you are loving only, you can't be kvetching. How many kvetchers are here? I love that. I love that you just went. Right? You can't be kvetching, you can't be complaining, you can't be thinking that your life is not good, you can't be going back and judging everything you did. You just can't be. If you are loving only, you're free from it all. You're just loving. How many of you wanted to be that? Do that. And I know you all do, on some level. We all wish and want, and wishing and wanting is another Burt Bacharach song. We all want to be able to say, yes, I can love only, but it can be challenging. It can be challenging. So the title of my talk today is, How Free Are You Really? That's kind of a depressing image. But Barbara picked it out and sent it to me and said, what do you think of this? It seems like it might be too intense. I went, not at all. We need to make the point that sometimes our beautifully antique minds are just shackled, no offense, Laura Shackelford, are shackled in place with these old beliefs and these old concepts, and we are literally prisoners of our own minds. Do you ever feel that way? You're just a prisoner of your mind because you're still thinking the same things you were thinking. You're still reacting the same way you've always reacted. So today, I would like to try to get in there and free this stuff up. Because the truth is, we are as free as the mind that possesses the question of how free am I? So if I say to myself, how free am I? You know, how free are you really? You are as free as the mind that asks the question. Freedom is an inside job, and you are free to do whatever you want, except that you're not gonna do whatever you want. You're not going to create prosperity unlimited by using your mind the same way you've been using it up to this point. You don't get to just say, okay, now I'm going to be rich. Now everything's going to go my way. You don't get to say that, not if you don't believe it. You can say it. I mean, it feels good to say it. But it's only going to happen to the degree that you believe it internally. And that's what's locked behind that door. The truth gets locked in, and we put in front of it all the other beliefs that we accumulate over our lifetime. A lifetime of accumulated thoughts and beliefs. A lifetime of believing that if you haven't succeeded by a certain age, deal with what you have now, because that's what you'll have. Anybody remember that one? If you haven't made a big impact by, I'm going to be good and say 70, since that gives me 6 years left, right? But really, it's like, if you haven't made a big impact, I heard an actor just say to me, literally say to me, to my face, he said, well, you know, I really thought I would make it in my 20s, and I'm in my 30s now, so I'm kind of like aging out. I was like, if you're aging out, I'm dead. I mean, think about it. How do you age out? Betty White hasn't aged out. She's like one of the hardest working actresses that we have. And she's, what is she, 98 now or something? And she's still checking guys out. So we are as free as the mind that poses the question. John F. Kennedy said this, and it's in your program. Just to remind you, every month I write a little article in your program about the month's theme. John F. Kennedy said this, conformity is the jailer of freedom and the enemy of growth. Conformity. Now, I'm in the middle of teaching Emerson. I did history last week. No, I'm sorry, I did history the first week. Last week was self-reliance, which just turned my head upside down, even though I've taught that course 5 times, and I had to take it twice. But suddenly I read self-reliance, and it was like Ralph Waldo Emerson was speaking to me again in a whole new way. And this idea of conformity, and to hear John F. Kennedy say, conformity is the jailer of freedom. Conformity, you know what conformity means? It means that you are still doing things conforming to the way you believe it should be done, as opposed to leaving room for what wants to happen. We have way too many followers and not enough leaders. I think we would do better if the whole world were leaders and people were just leading in their own directions. We'd all still get to the same place, but we'd probably have more fun doing it. So, conformity. Where in your life can you identify conformity for you? Where in your life can you identify yourself as conforming to an idea that perhaps no longer serves you? One of the things for me is church, the idea of church. Now, I feel very blessed that we are all here today celebrating this fellowship and celebrating this. But just so you know, this type of church service is slowly becoming antiquated. Certainly the younger generation, they find their spirituality in other ways. So we can continue to conform to what we are comfortable with and what we think works, or we can stay open to what's the next, but not lose this. I can still hold on to this, and because I love this. Sunday mornings are maybe the favorite time of the week for me. I love this, but I am also ready for what's next, whatever next is, which doesn't have to exclude this. But it's about keeping your mind open. Those chains are also you holding on to this stuff back here for dear life. Even though the world is changing around you so fast, your head spins, you're still holding on back here. I still hear people that say, oh, I heard a woman yesterday, I was coming out of my office and she was on the phone and she went, I don't do email. You can't reach me by email. I don't know where you sent it. I don't do email. And I'm just listening. And she was like 50, 60. And I wanted to go, do email. But I didn't. It's not my business. Until I heard her say, she said, I don't know how to receive text. And I passed her. I went, that's it. And I went over to her. And I said, give me your phone. And I showed her. I said, here's the text button right here. If they send you a text, click on there, you'll see text. She says, I don't think I want to learn that. And I went, well, that's your choice. I walked away. I bring her up because I think all of us have a little piece of that inside. I said I was having lunch with John Livesey yesterday, and he was talking to me about Bitcoin and all of this stuff. And there was a moment when my mind went into like shock, because I'm listening to John Livesey, and John Livesey just talks so intelligently and fast and furious and makes his points. And I got it. In 1 second, I went, oh my God. Of course, he doesn't know any of this happened because I just stayed calm and charming. But in my mind, I was like, I have a choice here. I can either open my mind up and listen to this because I can understand it, or I can just shut down and do that glazed, and then go home and go, no idea what he said. So I didn't. I think I asked him to repeat something, because while I was thinking that through, I missed what he just said. And I asked him to repeat something, and he did. My mind was open, and then I got it. And he was presenting this whole new idea for how the economy is going to grow, how financing is going to change, all these things that I need to know in this world in order to step into a more modern world. That's no different than I don't text. It's just a different version of it. So you are only as free as you are willing to be free. And freedom doesn't mean hiding out and just hoping nothing happens in your life that challenges you. No, challenges are good. Challenges are all a part of this whole evolution of allowing our lives to continue to grow. Emerson said this, a man should learn to detect and watch that gleam of light which flashes across his mind from within. A man should learn to detect and watch that gleam of light. Every single one of us in this room has within each of us the ability to let that shimmer of light come through and take us on a new journey. Free us up. Literally take us out of bondage and just let us take this amazing ride. How many of you here are afraid of the unknown? Okay. And the rest of you, you're all good with that. It's important to ask ourselves, am I afraid of the unknown? Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's knowing your mind enough that you know exactly what needs to be done. Because he then says this, man is clapped into jail by his consciousness. That's Emerson. Man is clapped into jail by his consciousness. Robert Frost, a quote in your program too, said, freedom lies in being bold. I know everyone out here is bold. Who's bold? Really raise your hand if you're bold. Okay, put your hands down. Who's not bold? Get bold. Really. Because bold just means that you are willing to literally step out there. Be willing to step out there. That's freedom. That's absolute freedom. When I was doing my one-man show, Sissy Boy, I would even saying the name makes me laugh. It's that good. I put this whole show together, and now I'm working on the TV series of it, and I'm backstage, and every night I was in bondage. Every single night, because I had to start the show in a wedding dress. I was not comfortable in that wedding dress. Of course, no one told me to write that I had to be in a wedding dress. I wrote it. And I would stand backstage in this wedding dress covered in a black tarp so no one saw me enter in Connie's wedding dress. And I would stand back there feeling like I was just going to throw up. I was like, why did I think I should do this? Why am I doing this to myself? Why am I forcing myself into something that feels so uncomfortable? I'm a Broadway actor. I shouldn't be feeling that way, but somehow this journey from Broadway actor to minister and back again to performer, it's very interesting what comes up inside of you. And I'm backstage and I was like, well, the music's going, and there's a moment where you need to be sitting center stage for a full audience waiting for you to open, for the light to come on and you be in a wedding dress. So you have no choice. You did this to yourself. Walk the hell out onto the stage. This is every night. It's not like just opening. Every night. Twice on Saturdays. Every time. I'm back there going, unbelievable. That's it. This show has to close soon. It just and Kevin said we should extend. I went, no, we are not extending. However, he just needed to ask me after the show, not before the show. Once I walked onto the stage, I left all the bondage behind me. The light came on, and there I was. But that's what life is like. Are you willing to be bold enough to do what's uncomfortable for you and still step into that, as Emerson says, glimmering light, and let something magnificent transpire? That's what it's all about. In every area of your life, that's freedom. And it really is so freeing to be in a wedding dress. No, it is so freeing to just throw all of your fears and doubts and cautions away and just step out and do it. So, I am free, the affirmation, I am free to choose the life I desire. I am free to choose the life I desire. And I loved what Dr. Ellen said, how she posed that and made you think about it. I want you to think about it even more. Do you believe you're free to create the life you desire? I mean, that's really important. Do you believe that you are free to create the life you desire, no matter what that life is? We are playing way too small. I don't care who you are in this room, even if you're John Livesey, you're playing too small. Because there's even more than what we're playing right now. I know, because there was a time when I thought what was going to be amazing, and now that to me was a low ceiling that I have literally plowed through. Even financially. You know, think about how much you think you can amass in money. And, you know, this is not a church that shies away from talking about money. Money is God in action. Money is currency. Money is energy. It's all the same thing. How much money do you think you can have? You may still be fighting problems and fighting beliefs that tells you money's bad. You shouldn't talk about money. How many of you grew up in houses where they said, we don't talk about money? I grew up in that house. My family my parents went bankrupt when I was a junior in high school. I never knew it till I was 40. They never talked about it. They kept working themselves to death trying to make sure no one knew. So this whole concept of freedom is for you to get in there, find out what's blocking your way, and getting rid of it. So, are you really able to create the life you desire? Not if you don't take possession of your mind. You can't. The only way you can create what you desire is to take possession of your mind. So, do you have possession of your mind right now? Do you have possession of your mind? Or does race consciousness have possession of your mind? Does the whole energy of the universe have possession of your mind? Does your mother have possession of your mind? Your father, your sister, my sister, my mother. Who has possession of your mind? Very important question. Does your past have possession of your mind? Do the things you are certain are yours to do have possession of your mind? Do your dreams that you said, this is what I am here to accomplish, does that have possession of your mind? That also should not have possession of your mind. The only thing that should have possession of your mind is that light that flies through it at all times. Hold lightly to all of it. Hold lightly to all of it. So Emerson also says this: nothing is at last sacred but the integrity of your own mind. Absolve you to yourself, and you shall have the suffrage of the world. Now, suffrage means you have a right to vote, but that works perfectly here, right? Absolve you. I'm going to turn you, Kelly Lang, over to you, Kelly Lang, which means you, Kelly Lang, get to vote for what life you want, and that vote will be unimpeachable. And so it is. That's what this is all about. Do you have control of your mind? Are you in charge? Are you deciding, and how are you deciding, and based on what? So, in the final analysis, I have something I want to read to close this from Ernest Holmes, and here's what's interesting. It's the very first page of The Science of Mind. It's in the chapter called The Thing Itself, and it's all about freedom. So I'm going to read it for you. Just take a deep breath, and just allow yourself to be open to this. He says, we see the abundance in the universe. We cannot count the grains of sand on a single beach. The earth contains untold riches, and the very air is vibrant with power. Why then is man weak, poor, and afraid? The science of mind deals with these questions. He writes, the divine plan is one of freedom. Bondage is not God ordained. Freedom is the birthright of every living soul. All instinctively feel this. The truth points to freedom under law. Isn't that beautiful? The truth points to freedom under law. Now here's the thing. I grew up in a household of cops, policemen in Philadelphia. That was my entire family. If you weren't a policeman, you were a fireman. And then there was me, the ballet dancer. Talk about freedom and bondage. So, when you're looking at this and here's how I grew up, and yet there's something in me and there's something in you that knows exactly the truth points to freedom under law. You can make this law a bad thing, or you can make this law a good thing. I'm going to suggest to you that you make it a very, very good thing. Because this law, which is the law of cause and effect, is always giving you exactly what you put into it. Everything that shows up in that pile that I talked to Ellen about, you put there in some way, shape, or form. Even if it's your neighbor that brought it and dumped it there, it's still your neighbor, your house, and you're standing where it is. You attracted it. So that's this law. You are free under the law that always says yes. But it's always going to say yes to whatever you're saying to it. You may be saying, God, this is going to be hard. And so it is. Or, oh my God, everybody's getting sick. I bet I'm going to get the flu. And you're in bed with the flu. What are you saying yes to? So you want freedom? Take control of your mind. Pay attention to what you're saying yes to. And go back behind this door, get rid of these shackles, and stand there, back there, and say, I'm going to bathe myself in the truth. Friday night, we had our first sound bath here in this auditorium. And yeah, there were 52 people. We moved it on the floor. It was just, and this whole stage was filled with gongs and all different types of musical instruments. It was an hour and a half of just sound vibration. That's getting behind this door. I left here tingling. There was one piece of music that was so discordant that I felt something wrong inside me. I was like, oh, I almost wanted to go, oh, how do I get him to stop playing that? It was this discordant thing. And then I was like, hold on. It's bringing a lot of stuff up in me that I don't like. I don't like this feeling. But, oh well, it's bringing it up to get it out. And I just suddenly went, and in the next moment, all of a sudden the music changed and he brought in the gongs and I was like, that's what life is. We spend too much time fighting. What we resist persists. Why not be free enough to give freedom to those things that are going to come up and go out? So, the last thing I want to say, what I want to ask you to do this month is to check in where you feel free and where you don't feel free. That's what I want us to do this month. I want you to pay attention to when you feel stuck. I want you to pay attention to when you assign to someone else, they're holding me back. They've taken away my freedom. I want you to pay attention to where freedom shows up unaltered and where it's encumbered by something in your mind that is causing you not to be free. That's our job this month, to pay attention to that. And then I want you to write it down. I want you to spend some time this month writing things down. Because one of the beautiful things at the end of Mental Muscle just now was Karen Uxwriter wrote me this beautiful email about sitting down and writing. I made them journal for 16 weeks. And sitting down and reading, she said it was a 2-hour read of her journal book. And she said, after reading what my 16 weeks were like, she said she was just crying and laughing. And I want you to write it down so that at the end of this month, you can go back and point to, oh my God, yeah, I felt that way. I don't need that anymore. Constructively taking charge of your mind. Actively participating in what your mind is doing. Because your mind's doing something every minute of the day. And sometimes it's doing it not on your behalf. It's doing it on the behalf of everything that's happening out here. So this month, let's take our minds back. Because Emerson said, nothing is at last sacred but the integrity of your mind. What I know for you is that each person in this room has the most amazing, magnificent, creative, possible mind that can literally, absolutely create every desire you have into a manifestation of form. All it takes is the freedom to do it, free from anything that could hold you back. You are in a state of power right now. You know who you are. You know what this thing called mind is. You know how to use it. Now all you have to do is actually use it. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.